Good day and welcome to the YALI 10 Ignite Talks. This is a fantastic session where we're going to hear from your fellow YALI colleagues working in a range of fields who are here to share their experience, expertise, and inspiration. And they will do it in 5 minutes, cutting straight to the heart of key lessons that they have learned from their work and that they want to share with the YALI community. I'm Hannah Quibo, Program Associate with the Wilson Center Africa Program, and I'm delighted to introduce the speakers for today's sessions. After I introduce our presenters, we're going to play their Ignite Talk videos, but stay with us. As soon as the videos have finished playing, we're going to open it up to a live Q&A where you can engage with each presenter in the session chat box. First, let me introduce our first speaker, Ms. Jamila Murad Pirbux. Jamila is a 2019 Mandela Washington Fellow, social innovator, and founder of the Ripple Project, Wavemakers Hub, and The Straws. Jamila is joining us from Mauritius, so thank you, Jamila. Second, Mr. Rodrigue Akoli, an alum of the RLC in Dakar. He is an executive director and director of Avejun and the digital platform eCenter Convivial, joining us today from Togo. Our third presenter is Mr. Eric Mawian. He's another 2019 Mandela Washington Fellow. He joins us from South Sudan, and he's a medical doctor and founder of the Akaugic Initiative. Fourth, we're pleased to welcome Mr. Nicolau Miguel. Nicolau is a program assistant with the Silencing the Guns Unit in the Peace and Security Department of the African Union Commission. He's based in Angola and is a 2019 Mandela Washington Fellow. Finally, the speaker who will bring us home today is Ms. Marie-Josée Paula Wenu from Côte d'Ivoire. She's a city advisor for the city of Abidjan and a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellow. So I want to thank them all for joining us. I'd like to ask Shahrazad now to play our videos, and we'll join you in 20 minutes for the Q&A.
All creative acts start with imagination. I read this sentence a few days ago while designing a program, and I had to find one tagline that would describe the work that I was doing. And I came across these two words, creative confidence. And I thought to myself, this is the essence of what I want to teach. Creative confidence is about believing in your ability to create change in the world around you. This self-assurance lies at the heart of innovation, according to Tom and David Kelly in their book, Creative Confidence. Create spaces where we can imagine the future, have confidence to explore new systems that lead us to happiness. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Sounds like a plan. As I read more, and especially about Jacqueline Novogratz and her work, this sentence echoed the thoughts I had and what I envisioned in my imagination. Have the humility to see the world as it is, and the audacity to imagine what it could be. It starts by putting yourself in another's shoes and building solutions from their perspectives. I am Jamila Murad Pirbux, and I'm the founder of Wavemakers. It is the idea that we can do things differently and see positive results and impact on beings that pushed me to start Wavemakers. We are working on becoming a social innovation center. Our goal is to equip impact-driven change makers in the Indian Ocean and Africa to promote a sustainable world through innovative and inclusive human-centered solutions. My Mandela Washington Fellowship was crucial in this work. I was extremely lucky to meet people who gave me the tools I needed and the creative confidence to imagine my future. The transformative power of imagination inspired everything after that. In the US, I learned about systems thinking and how to use it to create engaging and transformative learning experiences. I knew very little about social innovation, social entrepreneurship, impact-driven entrepreneurs. and I had limited knowledge in circular economy, sustainability. But I knew that the way we humans were doing things wasn't the best way. When I came across the concept of people, planet, profit, it all made sense. The triple bottom line. If these three aspects align, the world would be a better place. Because right now, it looks like profit is the leader. What if we could apply the donut economy everywhere? And I swear, it is not about food. It's about systems living in harmony, humans and their environment. The more I learn about human-centered design, the more it appealed to me. Start with empathy. The dreamer in me would say it is all we need. We often hear that the world is a cold place, and what surrounds us makes it clear that there is no escape. Humanity is going through unprecedented times. How we build resilience will be the key to our survival. But if only we are willing to reimagine our perception of GDP and money, seek harmony in our relationship with nature, and reclaim our humanity through empathy. What if everything started with empathy and ended with taking action? In between would be immersion and connection. As we aspire to be young African leaders ready to impact the world, I would invite you to read Jacqueline Novogratz' Manifesto for a Moral Revolution. As a journalist, her words made me reflect on the stories I tell. As a change maker, her words transformed my thinking. She leaves us with a very important message, as we are here to tell our stories as Africans. Learn to tell the stories that matter, stories that unite and inspire, reinforcing our individual and collective potential, and paint a picture of the future that we can build and inhabit together. We must take the harder path of telling stories that hold our truth, both the ugly and the beautiful, while remaining laser focused on the possible. All creative acts start with imagination. And imagination is the ability to construct hypothetical futures that do not yet but could exist. Let's dream together of what could exist and make it happen.
Un pays émergent est souvent connu pour sa réussite économique et cité généralement comme modèle. Mais ce que beaucoup ignorent, c'est que le secret de sa réussite réside souvent dans sa stratégie de gestion de la santé de la reproduction. Je suis Rodrigue Kafi Akoli, je viens du Togo. Je suis activiste en santé sexuelle et de la reproduction et j'ai un penchant particulier pour la e-santé. Je voudrais vous parler de l'investissement dans la santé de la reproduction chez les jeunes et adolescents, en l'occurrence chez la jeune fille. Il s'agit d'un investissement à long terme. Vous entendez souvent parler des menstruations. Pour certaines personnes, les menstruations sont un phénomène naturel et physiologique, et pour d'autres, ce sont des déchets de l'organisme ou une odeur gênante. Dans tous les cas, c'est un phénomène naturel qui épure l'organe génital de la jeune fille ou de la femme, mais qui a des fois des conséquences néfastes sur celle-ci dans la société. Car nos jeunes sœurs sont parfois contraintes d'abandonner l'école 3 à 5 jours afin de gérer leur menstruation pour leur bien-être dans leur rapport avec les autres, synonyme d'exclusion dans la société. On ne décide pas d'avoir ces règles, mais d'autre part, la nature nous a accordé le choix de décider de quand avoir un rapport sexuel. À l'exception des cas de viol et de dépression, le reste, on décide de quand le faire. Là n'est pas mon inquiétude. Mon inquiétude, c'est du fait que bien que l'homme ait le choix d'avoir des rapports sexuels, le préservatif est rendu gratuit. Alors que malgré que la menstruation soit une imposition de la nature agissant sur la santé et l'éducation de la jeune fille, les serviettes hygiéniques sont payantes. Quand la santé est définie par l'OMS comme étant l'état complet de bien-être physique, mentale et sociale et ne consiste pas seulement à une absence de maladie ou d'infirmité. Je trouve que le fait que la jeune fille perd ses serviettes hygiéniques ne contribue pas quelque part à son état complet de bien-être tel que défini par l'OMS. Je ne demande pas à ce que soit suspendue la gratuité des préservatifs. Non. Mais après réflexion à mon niveau, je voudrais juste savoir si l'on deviendrait perdant en intégrant l'offre des serviettes hygiéniques dans la liste des priorités qu'occupe également le préservatif. En clair, je souhaiterais à ce que les serviettes hygiéniques soient également rendues gratuites et accessibles à nos adolescentes et à nos jeunes filles. Ce serait de l'investissement pour plus d'implications positives. En effet, l'investissement dans la santé de la reproduction des adolescents et des jeunes a des implications positives qui ouvrent la voie aux dividendes démographiques et permettra de maintenir leur scolarisation, d'aider les jeunes à commencer une vie professionnelle productive, de les préparer à leurs responsabilités en tant que citoyennes capables d'entretenir des relations saines avec les hommes et les femmes. Quant à moi, je me suis déjà engagé sur cette voie à travers cette application web et mobile dénommée e-centre convivial que j'ai créée afin de faciliter l'accès des adolescents et des jeunes, y compris les femmes, au service d'information et de soins en matière de la santé sexuelle et de la reproduction. Cette application, dans ses ambitions, s'oriente également à la mise à disposition des serviettes hygiéniques aux adolescentes et aux jeunes filles à travers l'installation des distributeurs automatiques. Aujourd'hui, je suis fier d'apporter un plus à mon pays et de contribuer à la mise en œuvre du plan de développement sanitaire. Cela nous concerne tous, puisque nous avons chacun une mère, une sœur, une tante, une nièce, une femme qui contribuent à notre bien-être à tous. Je vous remercie.
May 11, 1993. Without warning, my village was brutally attacked by tribal warriors. The revenge attackers set hearts on fire. My two siblings burned in an agonizing death. My mother shot and killed. My aunt abducted and abused. Our cattle stolen. I fled the village at the age of 6 years old. My name is Moyen Arik. I'm the founder of Wakugok Initiative, and I am a medical doctor. Following that gruesome story, I survived and grew up without a mother. This is a story of every child in my community. This is a story of every woman in my community. Sadly, this conflict between the Dinka and the Nuer has been normalized. And year in and year out, women are dying, children are dying. So what should be done to stop this? When we returned to the village, at the age of 10, I started my school under the tree because there are no classrooms. And I used my finger as a pen and pencil. And I used the dirt on the ground as the exercise book. It was difficult. But over the years, I pursued my education, won myself a scholarship, and went to Makerere University, and eventually graduated with a medical degree. It was a moment of joy for me. But I thought of how should this conflict be stopped that is taking lives of women every day and children. I sought for a peace-building organization. And in 2017, I became a Generation Change Fellow with United States Institute of Peace. So now, I have returned to my village with peace-building skills and medical skills. But first, what is the status of my village? My village has a total population of 300,000 people. And in South Sudan, 1 out of 7 women die in childbirth. 1 out of 4 children have a chance of dying before their 5th birthday. These records may not be accurate because there are no birth records in remote villages just like mine. And this village has only one basic health clinic that is serving the population of 300,000. This basic health clinic that was actually built by the help of my father is in a very, very, very bad state. The roof is spoiled by the bats. Bat urines are on the floor and on the wall. And this is where women are delivering every day. No child deserves to be welcomed to the world in an environment like that. No woman deserves to deliver in an environment like that. So what do I have to do to change this? In 2019, I was selected to be a Mandela Washington Fellow. So I traveled to Boise, Idaho, and did public management and leadership. I made American connections. And today, with support from my American friends, we have repaired the roof of the ceiling. We have mounted solar, and women and children are being helped day and night. But is that it? No, there are more deep-rooted conflict issues that are taking lives of women and children every day, just like my mother. So what do I have to do? My peace-building programs are challenging the status quo, the cycle of socialization that socialize young boys to be warriors, that socialize young girls to be child bride, that socialize women to be second-class human. This has to be addressed. And that's why my peace-building programs are directed at liberating people out of this cycle. I'm approaching the youth, I'm approaching the elders, and I'm approaching them to ensure that this has to change. So I founded a non-profit organization, a grassroots, and with a vision of self-reliant remote villages living in peace, where women and children are empowered. I believe this is my calling in honor of my mother. What is your calling? Thank you.
I was born in 1992. In 1992, Angola went through the first election process, and it was historic for us. However, days after the election process, we went through a political instability. And when it happened, a lot of things happened in our country. People had to move to another location. And when things like this happen, we have two things like opportunities and challenges. The challenge that I would like to summarize today is unemployment. In Africa, for example, statistics says that 60% of the African population is under the age of 25. The good news is that we should be proud that Africa is the youngest continent in the world. So there is a lot of potential for the continent's development. But unemployment has been one of the root causes for challenges, for conflicts in Africa. In many countries, Africans, the unemployment has been one of the root causes. Fortunately, the African Union Master Roadmap on practical steps to silence the guns point out solutions for this challenge. And you and I, as young African leaders, as the one who can bring transformation in business, civil society, and governance, so we are the ones that have the talents to bring sustainable solutions to tackle the root cause of conflicts in Africa, particularly for unemployment. I personally have been doing a lot of activities for youth engagement at the community level. But let me summarize and present to you two of these great initiatives. The first one was that in January 2021, with other young leaders, of course, we convened the first ever high-level youth summit, a summit in which we gathered around 80 young leaders, and we discussed ideas, sustainable ideas, realistic ideas to bring up solutions for unemployment. And after the summit, we drafted a policy document which is going to be submitted to the Minister of Youth and Sports. After that event in March, in celebration of the Women's Month, and with a collaboration with the U.S. Embassy in Rwanda, we convened a women's forum, the Women's Forum, in which we declared that yes, women can. Women are important in this process of peace in Africa. So in the issue of unemployment, the women have a big role to play. And so we are the ones, the leaders, to bring up solutions, to bring up transformation so that the inclusion of women in this process, we can tackle this root cause, which is unemployment, that has led nations to conflict, that has led young people to be at the forefront of rebel groups, something that we do not want for the peaceful, integrated, and prosperous Africa that we want, the AU Agenda 2063. I thank you for your kind attention.
You've been chosen among thousands of youth in Africa. And there is this quote saying, history is made or written by the winners. So tell me, who will write your story? Because we all come from this continent, Africa, which is most of the time linked with the problem of development. I might say that some other parts of the planet also face development issues, but let's say we have a development problem, right? What is development anyways? Yes, it means sustainability, but it also means giving access to all the basic things for our population and the citizens. How come the richest continent, even if it's presented as poor, can still struggle to give access to all the basic needs to its children? Now, let's link it to climate change. I know some people don't believe in climate change, but we saw the past years and even this year that the rise of temperatures of part of the world of up to 2 degrees have created disruption in energy, have created disruption in the distribution of water. Now, can you imagine if you don't have enough water to drink? Can you imagine the impact on the agriculture? Now, the good thing is you can do something. Yes, Africa has its problem, right? But we can do something, and you are part of the solution. If you're working on technologies, you can do something. If you're a biologist working on communication, you can do something. If your thing is social media, you can do something. You don't need to be an environmentalist, but you can do something. The thing is, be sure to have the good keys to integrate true green solution. And if you succeed to do that, nobody else will write our history. You will write your story. True green solution. And if you succeed to do that.
All righty. Welcome back, speakers. Please unmute and turn your camera back on. Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your talks, those inspiring messages. Very, very grateful for that. I am going to open it up to question and answer with our audience. So if you're listening, wherever you're joining from, please, you may post your questions in the session chat. Post in French, English, Portuguese. We will communicate them to our speakers. But while everyone is thinking of their questions, I'm going to open with one question for each of you. So something that stood out to me from all of your talks, even though you come from different backgrounds, work in different areas, was the power of story, the power of imagination, the power of creativity, and how you do your work and communicating that as well, and how your stories are what drives you and what sustains you. So my question for you all, what is one piece of concrete advice that you would give to your fellow YALI alum, of which thousands are joining us this week? What is one concrete piece of advice that you would share with them on how they can communicate their visions and their dreams into action? So that's my question for you all. I would like to start with Eric, and then we'll go down and everyone will be able to share their piece of advice.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. My concrete advice to fellow young African leaders, those that have participated and those that are attempting to, is that in everything that you do, you need to have the passion for it and community in your hearts and in your mind. And once you have that honesty within you and drive and believe to want to change something, then you will always get the motivation and energy to move forward. And this is my story. It's not that, being a doctor is great enough, but where I came from, there is this continuous process of women and children, dying. And I believe if I use my ability, for example, being a doctor, to go back home, it helps me to get the audience and attention from the people that are killing themselves, and I can put my message across. So have the passion, have the belief, and have a clear vision of what you really want to do, and love that. I think that's what I can share with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamila.
So, hello, everyone. To answer that question, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to Eric. Your story moved me a lot. And I think that's the biggest advice I can give to our fellows. It's build on your story, build on your experiences, and take everything that happened to you and build that into something great. And I think it goes back to something that we call authentic leadership, and that it's something that I think we are all applying, bringing everything that we are to the table. So being authentic in who we are, I think that's the best advice. Always be who you are, because you never know who you're inspiring. You'll see young people trying to copy others, or, it's like everything is a trend now, and we just want to go with the flow. So sometimes not going with the flow is what makes us stand out. So it goes back to our own stories, our personal stories, and then we build on that, and it's a strength. When we go through hardships, we find that very difficult to see that as a strength. It's like heartbreaking and very painful experiences, and then we just cannot use that and see the positive side of that. But that's my biggest advice. It's something that helped me throughout my life. It's use everything that happened to me and try to see the good in that. And then I have that sentence that I like to use all the time. It's every moment is the guru. So every moment is a teacher. So that's the best advice I can give to young people, is that make every moment count and see the learning behind that, because everyone and every moment is teaching you something.
Thank you. Marie-Josée, over to you. You're muted.
Okay. I think Eric and Jamila said the most important thing, to have an impact and turn your ideas or what you're thinking, this passion is inside you, because this is something that will drive everything you will do. So, and yes, it's very important to not want to copy, saying, oh, they are doing this, I can do that. You have to find something inside you that will drive all your life and what you're doing, because when things will get harder, this is what will help you continue. But one other advice I could give linked to that is you have to trust yourself and follow your intuition. And also, don't be afraid to learn. We are all learning. I've been working on environmental issues since 9 years, and I'm still learning every day, new things, new strategies. So don't be afraid to learn, to go and ask for advices and see how you can empower yourself and still continue to grow. And I think this is one key thing that I take back from the Mandela Washington Fellowship, because it's a big lesson of humility to see all these leaders, all these different stories, and yes, still continue to learn.
You might be frozen. Go ahead. Nicola, I'm going to turn to you while Mr. Akoli works on his computer. So go ahead. Oh, no, we have you. Go ahead, please.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Bonjour à tous et merci pour la question. En tant qu'alumni et ayant réussi à mettre en action ma vision au sortir de cette formation du YALI, le conseil que j'ai à donner à mes frères et sœurs alumni, c'est de savoir traduire leurs rêves, de savoir traduire également leur vision et de faire la différence entre l'objectif et la vision. Et tout comme on le sait, la vision n'est pas un objectif qu'on peut se permettre de réaliser dans une semaine, dans 2 jours ou dans un mois. Il faut prendre son temps de préparer la mise en œuvre de sa vision, de rassembler les éléments nécessaires, notamment ceux avec qui on peut collaborer, et d'avoir toujours un plan B pour pouvoir réaliser sa vision. Et il faut pas se presser. Il faut pas se presser. Il faut bien planifier sa vision, savoir là où on va. Et surtout, de savoir tisser des relations, de savoir s'inspirer de l'expérience des autres, ceux qui ont réussi, ceux qui ont pu arriver à changer la courbe des choses. Il faut arriver à s'inspirer de leur expérience et surtout de leur échec. Parfois, nous considérons les échecs comme une fatalité, alors que c'est pourtant les échecs constituent en partie des stratégies pour nous de savoir tirer profit de ces échecs-là et de préparer notre avenir. Donc, voilà les conseils que j'ai à donner à mes sœurs et frères alumni qui tentent aujourd'hui de pouvoir mettre en œuvre leurs rêves ou leur vision. Et c'est de savoir tirer parti, c'est de savoir planifier sa vision, de savoir mobiliser les ressources nécessaires. Quand je parle de ressources, je ne fais pas seulement allusion aux ressources financières, mais je parle également des ressources humaines et ceux avec qui on peut collaborer, ceux qui partagent les mêmes visions que nous, ceux-là qui sont au moins disposés à nous fournir des conseils et à nous aider et aussi parfois ne pas refuser les critiques. Les critiques font partie des qualités d'un leader. Donc, il faut accepter les critiques que nous apportent les autres et savoir comment les corriger, se corriger pour pouvoir réussir. Voilà en quelque sorte les conseils que j'ai à donner à mes sœurs et frères alumni. Merci beaucoup.
Mr. Miguel, will you bring us home with your one piece of advice? Or for this question anyways. All right. Yep, we can hear you, Nicolau. Go ahead. As well. It was really interesting. Some of the things I heard were the importance of what you're doing. Another thing that came out a lot was the need for constant learning from others, learning from experiences, as well as trust in what you're doing. And then Another point that Mr. Akoli made, I believe, was on partnerships and collaboration and how those are key as well in building those. So I want to thank you for sharing those. One thing that I will ask you now to share is on the flip side, if you could share one moment of failure, because we've all failed. You failed, I have failed in our different endeavors, and you all said learning is important. So what is one moment of failure, and what was the key lesson that you learned from that? So Marie-José, I'll start with you, and then I'll head back around the camera. And Nicolau, if you're able to connect back, we'll circle to you as well.
I think you're muted.
I said this is a very difficult question because I failed so many times I can't even remember how many times I failed. But let me share. It's not a story, but I think it's about everybody. When you just finished your studies and you try to get a job and you send so many letters and so many CVs and you don't have any response. So when I graduated in law, I had also another degree in business law. So I was trying to have just have a job. So I had meetings and interviews with law firms, professors, etc. And some of them told me what you did that there is no link between environment, protection, business. So it's like you spent 5-6 years studying about something and people are telling you, please do something else because we don't need that here. Don't need that here. So it was a big shock for me. And I was even considering to just change my path. But I had this idea and this vision that just allowed me to continue and to continue to learn about all this scientific question about environment, where at first it wasn't my first area, because I was just driven by this idea that we just need to protect the environment, to be able to be developed, to have access to all these basic things. So I would say this was, at first it looks like a failure for me. I spent maybe 1 year, 2 years trying to think, okay, maybe I should change my pattern. But at the end of the day, I just understood that sometimes you also have to be patient. But because finally after that, we needed people working in this area. We didn't have so much expert working in this area. So in some ways, I've been a little bit patient. I tried to strengthen my path, having more trainings, more experience. And this is what I was saying, don't be afraid to just continue to learn and just to define what you want to do and define where you want to go. And it takes time to do that. So even if you have a failure, you have to be, to take the time to understand why you fail, if it is a failure, how you can use that to just continue.
Thank you. Jamila, we'll turn to you next.
Thank you. I think it's a very hard question. And just like Marie-José, I cannot count the number of times I have failed. But I think one big heartbreak was maybe with education, and what it taught when I couldn't finish my degree is that sometimes when you don't achieve what you want to achieve, you see yourself as a failure, or you see yourself as less intelligent, or I cannot do it, I cannot complete it, or my anxiety is taking over, or things like that. And you start comparing yourself to others, like they can do it, it's so easy for them. I can't do it. Why it's so hard for me when it's something so simple? And I think that it taught me to be gentle with myself, first of all, and also to value the pace I had to learn. Because if you ask me when I was 20 And now that I'm over 30, if I'm the same person, I'm not the same person at all. So it took the time that it took, but I finally became the person that I wanted to be. So just not compare yourself to other people. Everyone has their own pace and everyone learns differently. And the thing is, never stop to explore, because that's the best thing you can do. After you fail, there's no other way than to explore another way.
Thank you. Mr. Akoli, over to you. Your failure.
Merci beaucoup pour cette question. Et généralement, quand je fais face à cette question-là, ça me rappelle une histoire particulière de ma vie en tant qu'alumni YALI, parce que je ne considère pas les difficultés comme étant un échec. Et pour la petite histoire, au sortir de ma formation au Centre régional de leadership de YALI Dakar, j'avais pour ambition de mobiliser toute la communauté africaine, toute la jeunesse africaine autour d'un seul sujet, d'une seule thématique, c'est la santé de la population. Donc, à ce titre, j'avais organisé un camp international à Lomé au Togo, qui a mobilisé 14 pays, et environ 250 jeunes étaient à Lomé pour contribuer au bien-être sanitaire de la population. Et il a fallu qu'on organise plusieurs activités. Mais par surprise, j'ai eu un échec. J'ai eu un échec juste parce que les conditions nécessaires n'étaient pas réunies, que ce soit logement, que ce soit restauration et autres, au point où tous ceux qui étaient impliqués, même au niveau du CRL Dakar, l'information était passée que Rodrigue n'a pas pu réussir, n'a pas pu achever sa mission. Et c'était une honte totale. C'était une honte totale parce qu'il y avait une communication pas possible qui a été faite autour de l'événement. Et des gens ont regagné leur pays respectif avec des injures, avec des notes d'insatisfaction. Alors, dans ce contexte-là, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Il faut raccrocher? Il faut dire adieu au programme YALI? Ou bien qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Parce que c'est toute mon image qui était en jeu. Et sans mentir, j'étais couvert d'une honte totale. Et je recevais pas mal de messages. Et donc, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Là, ça m'a amené à une réflexion. Est-ce que c'est l'initiative qui n'a pas plu aux gens ou bien c'est la démarche? Donc, je me suis rendu compte que c'est plutôt la démarche. Alors, quelles sont les stratégies développées et qui n'ont pas abouti? Donc, j'ai dû prendre tout mon temps pour réfléchir à tout cela, voir comment, face à cette situation, étant un leader, on peut être amené à être rejeté par sa population. Donc, étant un leader, comment faut-il faire pour pouvoir rassembler la population quand, à un moment donné, on a perdu la confiance de la population? Donc, j'ai pensé, j'ai réfléchi, je me suis dit non, il faut retourner vers la population, expliquer un certain nombre de choses. Cela m'a amené à utiliser mes propres fonds pour aller dans certains pays, le Mali, le Burkina, le Bénin, où je me suis promené, aller vers les alumni pour leur expliquer, les mobiliser et relancer une seconde édition du même événement, mais plutôt au Burkina Faso. Et là, nous étions surpris du grand succès qu'a donné cette initiative-là au niveau du Burkina Faso. Et je rappelle également que c'est dans cette réflexion, c'est dans cet échec-là que j'ai eu l'inspiration de créer cette application mobile qu'on appelle aujourd'hui e-centre convivial et qui a le soutien de presque tous les partenaires et tout le gouvernement togolais. Donc voilà l'expérience que j'ai à partager. Dans l'échec, il ne faut pas perdre espoir. Il faut toujours penser à un plan B et voir comment corriger pour pouvoir y arriver. Sans cet échec-là, je ne serais pas là où je suis aujourd'hui. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you. Nicolas, do we have you back? I think we might. If we have you, I would like to give you the opportunity to answer that question. Are you able to hear us? No, you're gone again. All right, keep trying. If you get back, go ahead and cut in wherever you are. You feel free to interrupt. We'll give you the right to cut in and answer. So Eric, over to you. We've got about 3 minutes left in the session. I really want to try and cram in one more. That question, by the way, was from Sarah Mohammed. So thank you, Sarah. But we're going to go about 3 more minutes. So Eric, your failure, and then we'll bring it home with one more question.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. I think it's guaranteed that you're going to fail in your journeys or whatever you do. And I have failed in my education process and even during my nonprofit process. But what happens or what you do when you fail is what really determines what you will be. You know, when I was in medical school in third year, prior to that, I had worked, saved some money so that I can pay my tuition. And challenges happened, and I couldn't, continue with education. I couldn't continue with I could not pay myself tuition. That moment was my vision or my story, my dream of becoming a doctor. At that point, when I couldn't pay, was gone. And it wasn't because of me; it was because of certain circumstances. But that made me think more creatively on how I can move on with my education, and that's how I went ahead and got myself a scholarship and became, eventually I became a medical doctor. So you really need self-discipline when you fail, because you're going to fail. You really need some sort of mental toughness, and you need to work hard in order to achieve your dream. Don't give up. So failure is really guaranteed in this kind of servant leadership that we are doing, or whatever. It can be business, or it can be any other service that you're offering. You will fail, but how you manage the failure, the attitudes you have towards that failure, will really determine what your end goal is. So I have failed, and here I am. I never thought I would be Mandela Washington Fellow, and because of that step in my life has now changed a lot of things. My community are seeing me now as somebody that can restore hope, relationship, and trust that is once broken through the healthcare that I am providing. And it was through Mandela Washington Fellowship that I learned a lot about networking, about exploring your potential, and the idea of working with the community. So really, failures will teach you lessons that will make you a better person. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Nicolau, we have you. Go. If so, start. I see you moving. If we don't, put your answer in the chat and I will read it for you. So if you aren't able to get on the audio, type it out for me so I can read out your answer. Does that work? All right. No? Well, we are nearly out of time. So I'm going to do two things. One is a surprise, so forgive me. I said I was going to end with a question on in 1 minute, one word of encouragement or inspiration, but I'm going to change that. You can answer that, or answer, what role did YALI play in getting you to where you are? So you can answer either. What is in 30 seconds, now I'm shortening the time. So in 30 seconds, what is your one encouraging, if you put it as a background on your iPhone or your phone or your computer on your wall, phrase that would motivate and sustain you? Or what role did YALI play? So I'm going to give you all 30 seconds to answer that. I'm going to start in the order that we began with our videos. So Mauritius, Ms. Gemila, I know it's the latest there for you at night, so please kick us off.
Well, you didn't give me the time to think, so I'll leave you with a sentence.
Love it.
So, and I think it goes back to what YALI did for me. So it's find my purpose, because when I had to answer the questions when I did my application to actually get on the program of Mandela, I had to find that sentence where I see myself in 5 years and where I see myself in 10 years. So that's where I find my purpose, who I want to be in 5 years and who I want to be in 10 years. So that's the only sentence I can leave you with.
All right, Marie-José, I'm actually going to ask you to repeat my question in French for Mr. Akoli. Give him the opportunity to answer, and then I'll come back to you to answer last.
Translate.
Yes, please. If you could, my question about the role of YALI or the one quote of inspiration.
So, Monsieur Kafoui, donc, elle demande de parler, de présenter soit une citation qui vous inspire, soit d'expliquer en quoi le programme que vous avez fait, donc c'est le YALI, je pense, qu'est-ce que ça vous a apporté. Donc, soit une citation, soit qu'est-ce que le programme vous a apporté en 30 secondes.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Je préfère une citation. S'il faut parler du programme, je serai un peu loin et un peu long plutôt. Il y a une citation qui me plaît souvent dans ma découverte du programme YALI, c'est « Seul, on y va plus vite, mais ensemble, on va plus loin ». Voilà la citation.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, Nicolau, I think you're going to type your answer for us, unless you are able to speak now. You are muted, so try unmuting. Nope. All right, I'll look for it in the chat. I will read it, but over to you, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. YALI experience gave me clarity of my vision, and it gave me tools that I can use to actually start the process of giving back to the community. So through networking, through meeting friends, and it's something that people really don't value, that you cannot do it alone. You can do it with other people. And that's the experience that I got from Mandela Washington Fellowship in Boise, Idaho. So keep reaching out to people, and they will communicate your vision clearly and precisely to them. Once they understand what it is, they will always rally behind you. And reach out to people that think like you, and also people that think differently, because from them you will have, you know, ideas that can propel your vision forward and help other people. So clarity and tools are what I really got from YALI experience. Thank you.
All right, Marie-Josée.
Okay, I think the quotation I will use is the one I shared for the video, saying that history is written by the winners or something. But it's also to say that you have to write your own story. And to be able to do that, you have to believe in yourself. You have to learn yourself. You have to empower yourself. We talked a lot about failure. You have to learn how to get up after failure. And once you do that, it's also important to work together. You cannot wash your hand with only one hand, right? You need two hands to wash your hand. So I think it's really important to always have this idea, and that's all. You have to write your story and empower yourself to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Nicolau has sent me his last word, in which he said that for him, what YALI has enabled him to do is led him into a continental community of young leaders where you inspire each other, which I think is a wonderful way to end this session. I'm feeling inspired. I know that the audience, the YALI alumni, the YALI family all over are also feeling inspired. So I want to thank you again for sharing. Thank you to our audience for joining. We hope you stay with us for more sessions throughout the week. Right after this, we have an entertainment session. So please join us on the main stage for that. And wherever you are, I hope you are clapping for our speakers. So thank you so much.